On the morning after Christmas in 1996, a mother in Colorado walked down the stairs of her home and found a note. It was long, strange, and chilling. The note claimed her 6-year-old daughter had been kidnapped. But hours later, inside the very same house, police would make a discovery that would shock the entire country. Because the little girl they were searching for had never left the home. Her name was JonBenét Ramsey. And more than 2 decades later, her case remains one of the most disturbing and mysterious crimes in American history. JonBenét Ramsey was only 6 years old. She lived with her parents, John Ramsey and Patsy Ramsey, and her older brother, Burke Ramsey. The family lived in a large home in Boulder. JonBenét was known for her bright smile, golden curls, and energetic personality. Friends described her as playful and affectionate, the kind of child who could light up a room. But she was also widely known for something unusual: child beauty pageants. Her mother, Patsy, had once been a beauty queen herself and encouraged JonBenét to compete in pageants across the country. Photos and videos of the little girl in elaborate dresses, makeup, and crowns became widely circulated in the media. To many people, she looked like a tiny superstar. But no one could have imagined that her name would soon become known across the world for a far darker reason. Christmas night, December 25, 1996. The Ramsey family had spent the evening celebrating with friends at a holiday party. It had been a normal night: laughter, food, gifts, and children playing. Later that evening, the family returned to their home in Boulder. JonBenét had fallen asleep in the car on the way home. Her father carried her upstairs and put her to bed. Everything seemed peaceful. But sometime during the night, something happened inside that house. Something that would change everything. Because the next morning, JonBenét would be gone. Around 5:30 in the morning, Patsy Ramsey woke up and began walking down the spiral staircase of their home. Halfway down the steps, she noticed something lying on the staircase. 3 pages, handwritten. It was a ransom note. The message claimed that JonBenét had been kidnapped by a mysterious group calling themselves a foreign faction. The demand was exactly $118,000 for their safe return. It warned the family not to contact police. But Patsy was terrified. She immediately called 911. Within minutes, police officers arrived at the Ramsey home. Friends and neighbors soon gathered as well. The house quickly became crowded, but something strange was happening. Despite the ransom note, there was no sign of a forced entry, no broken windows, no clear evidence that anyone had broken into the house. And as the hours passed, there was still no call from the kidnappers. Then, around 1 p.m., detectives asked John Ramsey to search the house one more time. What he found would shock everyone. Inside the basement, in a small storage room, John Ramsey discovered his daughter. JonBenét Ramsey was lying on the floor. She was unconscious, and she was not breathing. The little girl everyone had been searching for had been inside the house the entire time. Police quickly realized something was terribly wrong. JonBenét had not been kidnapped. She had been murdered. An autopsy later revealed that the 6-year-old had suffered a severe blow to the head and had been strangled. The crime scene raised dozens of disturbing questions. The ransom note was unusually long, nearly 3 pages. Experts found it strange that a kidnapper would take the time to write such a detailed message inside the home. Even stranger, the note appeared to have been written using paper and a pen from inside the Ramsey home. Police also noticed something else. The ransom amount, $118,000, was extremely specific. It happened to match a recent bonus that John Ramsey had received from his company. This raised an unsettling possibility. Whoever wrote the note might have known the family personally. Suspicion quickly began to grow, and unfortunately, it began pointing toward the people closest to JonBenét, her own family. Police began closely examining John and Patsy Ramsey. Their behavior during interviews raised eyebrows. Some investigators believed the ransom note looked similar to Patsy's handwriting. Others believed the family knew more than they said. But there was never enough evidence to charge them with a crime. Meanwhile, the investigation became chaotic. The Ramsey home had not been properly secured. Friends had been allowed to walk through the house. Potential evidence may have been contaminated, and the case quickly turned into a media storm. Television stations across America began broadcasting the story non-stop. The mysterious murder of a 6-year-old beauty queen had captured the nation's attention. But the deeper investigators looked, the more confusing the case became. Years later, DNA testing revealed something unexpected. Investigators discovered unknown male DNA on JonBenét's clothing. This discovery introduced a completely new possibility. What if someone outside the family had entered the home? Some investigators began to believe the crime may have been committed by an intruder, but others remained skeptical. After all, there were still many unanswered questions. How did the killer enter the house without leaving clear evidence? Why write such a long ransom note? Why leave the body inside the house? The case was filled with contradictions, and every theory seemed to raise even more questions. Years later, investigators examined numerous suspects, but none could be definitively linked to the crime. More than 2 decades later, the murder of JonBenét Ramsey remains unsolved. In 2008, prosecutors officially cleared the Ramsey family based on DNA evidence. But many investigators and members of the public still debate what really happened inside that house on Christmas night in 1996. Was it an intruder, a staged kidnapping, or something far more complicated? Despite countless investigations, documentaries, and theories, the truth has never been proven. The killer has never been identified, and justice for JonBenét has never been fully served. Somewhere out there, someone knows exactly what happened in that house in Boulder on that cold December night in 1996. They know how a 6-year-old girl lost her life. They know who wrote that strange ransom note, and they know why the truth has never fully come to light. But after all these years, that person has never come forward. And the voice of JonBenét Ramsey, a little girl who once dreamed of crowns and stages, remains forever silenced, leaving behind one of the most haunting mysteries in true crime history. A mystery that even today refuses to be solved.